Okay, my name is Paul Lazoran. It's Lazoran. I started working here as a young kid at 9 years old back in the early 50s. I started out washing golf clubs. So I started out, moved into the golf shop moved into the club room for a while, then I moved into the snack bar we had there in the 50s. Moved into the golf shop as assistant pro back in the 60s and ran the golf shop downstairs for 29 years and then ran the locker room up here for 30 years. And I'm still around here a few hours a week just to talk to the members. Well, my first memories at 9 years old was trying to make money. There was 9 kids in our family, so we didn't have a whole lot. So it's coming out here, if you washing golf clubs, I worked as really a cash tip thing only. I sat in the corner and watched them and members would take care of me. Then moving into caddy, you go back in the 50s, if you carried 2 bags for 18 holes, you were lucky to make $7 or $8. Today it's a little bit different. It was just a big thrill, and then to be able to be around here to caddy for people like Arnold Palmer, Gary Player, Billy Casper, Guy Berger, Gabe Brewer, Sam Snead, quite a few of them. That's the biggest thrills of my life out here.
Country Club, why it's so important to our history and our heritage?
Well, it's very important for the city, for Akron. A lot of charity money comes in for the tournament, and it's on TV every year. Everybody, no matter where you go in the world, you hear Firestone Country Club. It's very important.
Right. There are specific interactions with players that are still very vivid in your mind?
Well, in 1965, I got the caddy for Gary Player. He won the World Series of Golf here. Yeah, it was a big thrill because the first place money then was $50,000. That's how things have changed. It was the biggest thrill of my life because the money he gave me was how I bought my first home. So, and caddying in '64 for Arnold Palmer the year Tony Lima won here was a big thrill because Palmer was my idol as a kid. And getting to know him was a thrill.
Yeah. And how were they as people? Obviously, you know, they have a public persona, but maybe some of the quieter moments that you had with them.
Well, 95, 90, at least 95% of them are super. They're good to people. I mean, you're going to have a small percentage no matter where you go in the world, but I got to know Nick Price very well, who's won our tournament here in 1983, one of the nicest guys you'd ever meet. But over the years, you meet people like Palmer, Player, Bobby Nichols, Guy Berger. These guys are all super. I could sit here and name you people like Mike Suchuk or Pork Oliver, people never heard of. But that's back in the 50s, a lot of them.
Right.
Tommy Boat, I caddied for him. He was known as having a hot temper back in the 50s.
That's right. And how do you see that contrast between players of, you know, kind of, you know, in the early years of the sport and now?
Oh, gosh, back then, you know, here's how things have changed. Back then, let's say back in the 60s, players would fly into the airport. Somebody like myself or one of the caddies here would go pick them up. Today, they got a new car there for them. It's the big difference today is how they're treated money-wise, the way they're treated when they come into the club. Like Paul Casey said to me one day, he goes, this is when I ran the locker room, he says, please, geez, I fly in here, they got a brand new car, my food's free. He says, I don't have to spend a nickel this week. He says, in last place money, I think it's $35,000. I said, yeah, you do. He said, what do you mean? I said, don't forget the locker room. He's
Right.
a good guy.
Right, yeah, right. So when we were walking around, you were showing me the photographs of the original clubhouse. Tell me about that day when unfortunately it was lost.
Well, we were walking, but I believe it was 1958. Me and my brothers followed behind me. They caddied here too. We were walking up here to work to caddy, and I said, my God, it looks like the clubhouse is on fire. And the closer we got, we realized it was, and it burnt to the ground. There was nothing left. So I thought, well, as a young kid, then we get a day off. Well, the old golf pro here named Alex Reynolds said, Paul, you're going to sit here. The members are going to tell you what they had in their lockers. Well, they all had FootJoy shoes and cashmere sweaters because it burnt to the ground. There was nothing left to it.
And how quickly was that, was it reconstructed, and anything about that story that is interesting?
Well, they used a little bit of part of the building still downstairs, some parts of the basement. They built it. God, how long did it take them? They opened it temporarily, and they built this new clubhouse. This was open here, in 1968 or 69, one of the 2 years is when they moved into here.
Kind of the allure of Firestone, not even the tournaments and all of that when its profile is made even more prominent, but just kind of the day to day, just people that have visited here or from either around the U.S. or around the world, anything special memories of those individuals and.
Well, I think when people come here, they're really surprised at what we have here. I mean, you can sleep 275 people a night on property here. We sleep 60 people up here in the locker room. You got villas all over the place. If they can stay right here, if they're here for 4 days, they don't have to leave the property. They have their breakfast, lunch, dinner, and golf. And that's what people are here for. Mm-hmm. It's quite an experience here if you've ever been here.
Are there any specific memories of folks that you kind of connected with on a more personal level during their visit and maybe where they were from?
Oh, I got friends all over the world right now. People that I have from everywhere that's been here. That's, like I say, I've been around here now 65 years. So of course a lot of people know me. And I know a lot of them. They're trying to remember all their names, but I've got friends all over the place right now. Florida, California, Arizona, Palm Springs, you name it, I've got them there.
Right. I would assume it's some international visitors too, or international friends.
Right. Some of the players that come here, these guys are all great. Mm-hmm. They're great. Firestone built this for their employees, opened it in 1929. It was for the employees. If you worked at Firestone, you could join here for an unbelievable, ridiculous fee. You could bring your family, your kids, your whole family in. Well, we had a great junior golf program here for years that I taught, and Bobby Nichols was head pro here at that time. He'd come down to help with it too. So a lot of good players around town here would still come up to me and say, I took lots of lessons from you 40 years ago or 50 years ago. So it was a great program for the young kids. Firestone did a great thing for their employees. Just Firestone himself would come here and play. You could be a janitor or you could be the top executive at Firestone. Everybody was treated the same. Mm-hmm. I know Mr. Firestone used to call here and he had a real soft voice and he'd say, Paulie, can I come out and play 9? I told my boss, Bobby Nichols, one day, I said, no, we're too busy. No, he was a great guy. Yeah. And he would never show up here to play unless he called first. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But I think they did it for their employees, and I think it was a heartbreaker for most employees when they sold this place. Right. Yeah, right. When Bobby was here, Glenn Campbell used to play here quite a bit. Jerry Reed was a good friend of Glenn. They'd come in. Evel Knievel, I played a lot with him years ago. Thurman Munson, Foster Brooks, John Denver, Bobby Rydell. I could go on and on. Mm-hmm. That they'd call me and say, we got John Denver coming up. We need you to play with him. And I would do a lot of that. Yeah. And I had a great time, like Evel Knievel, I thought was a fantastic person. Mm-hmm. Pretty decent golfer too. Uh-huh. Glenn Campbell would come here. He was a good friend of Bobby Nichols, and they stayed at Bobby's house out here in Fairlawn and do their show at Blossom Center. And I got to play a lot with him, and he was a great guy. Yeah. He just passed here a few months ago. Right. But I've met quite a few. I could sit here and can't think of all. Andy Williams has been here. Bob Hope, quite a few big names. It's 54 holes. It's a country club. Okay. I mean, you as a member can bring guests out here. Mm-hmm. We have a 9-hole public course across the lake here called Hackers.
That's maybe what I'm thinking about.
It's a 9-hole course. It's called the public course. Okay. But these three are 3 great golf courses, and they're private. Private. Well, my brothers are younger than me. They came behind me. I have a brother named Mike and one Richie. They were in the golf business. Mike was the Ben Hogan salesman. Richie was the Max Fly salesman. Then I had a brother named Will who's passed, but he really not got in. He caddied, but he didn't get into golf. But we all grew up here. We had a place to go as young kids. This is one thing. Years ago, we probably used 75 to 100 caddies every day from around the area. And it kept the kids out of trouble. Mm-hmm. Our place here, to me, was like Caddy Shack, but we didn't have a swimming pool. We had Mondays, they let the caddies play. We had the course. So, of course, we had some great times out there. That's all gone now because the Mondays now is a big money-making day for clubs. So they're not going to give that up anymore, and I don't blame them. Right. But going on to say with friends, I got so many good friends from here, like people I used to work, Don Padgett. He's down at Pinehurst now. I consider him as one of my good friends. I got hundreds of good friends.
Mhm.
I could sit here and not think of all their names,
Right.
but
Right.
yeah, you make a lot of friendship with people you work with over
Right.
the years.
So when you were so young at 9, how were you exposed to the opportunities here to earn a couple of bucks?
Well, how it started is my dad, I remember back there and asking my dad for some money to go to the movies, and I think back then it was 35 cents or something like that. And he's, look, I know the golf pro over there at Firestone, Alex Reddle. Go over there and see if he'll let you make some bucks. That's how it started. I walked over here. And he said to me, he said, you're too young and too little. Come back in a couple of years. But as I started to walk away, he said, wait a minute. If you want to sit there in a corner and watch golf clubs, work off cash tips only, you can do that. And that's how it started. And he took a liking to me, moved me into the golf shop, and I became a decent player at one time, which I don't have that ability anymore. He's not that good anymore, but I was good enough to be a teaching pro. I taught golf here. I was lucky enough to qualify for the tournament, American Golf Classic in '69, so I've had some good experience in
Yeah.
golf. Golf has been good to me and my family, and my brothers. My brother Mike was a Ben Hogan salesman, top salesman in the area, and he got to go to Texas and have dinner with Ben Hogan, so it's a big thrill for him.
Yeah. So I would imagine that that you and your brothers were kind of the envy of maybe some of your childhood friends with these brushes with greatness and just the opportunity to be, on this wonderful campus.
Well, we were all very lucky to caddy for some of the greatest players in the world, and if you go back years ago, they didn't bring their own caddies. They would come here. We would go around town, pick up 20 caddies from each club. And as you walk in, you're Mr. Palmer, you draw a name, that's who caddied for you. That's the way it worked back then. And I think it was Nicholas is one of the first ones that started bringing Angelo. And before you know it, these caddies are making pretty good money today.
Right.
And before you know it, quite a few of them. Now I think 99% of them have their own caddies. Yeah.
Were you able to, in those early years, maybe help some of your buddies get jobs here?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Through the years, the gentleman I worked with there's got my job now. I retired 2010. Dick Robbins became a friend of mine, and when Club Corp took this over, I decided I wanted to take over the locker room. And my boss says, I said, yeah, because I'm having some personal problems at home. I want to change my life. And I said, well, I've never really mixed a drink. We have drinks up there. I said, but my buddy Dick downstairs is a bartender. So I got Dick to come up with me, and my brother Richie started. So we started this back in '81 up here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a great job.
Yeah.
And Dick is still here. He does a great job here. Golfers would come in, and I'll tell you what, in 1983, Nick Price was from Zimbabwe, South Africa. He come up and asked where's a good place to eat and things like that. We became very close that week. First time I ever met the man. He won our tournament. He come in after winning the tournament. He goes, I'm from Zimbabwe, South Africa. I know nobody. We're having a beer together. That's how I got to know him. And he was here last year. And anytime he comes into town, he looks us up. And he does not forget names. He's one of the best I've ever seen at. And we stay in touch. When I go down to Florida, he's got a course down there at Port St. Lucie. So once in a while, I go over there and play his course.
That's great. That's great. Were there other kind of Greater Akron, either attractions or restaurants or
Back then,
points of interest?
They'd all come to you. Where's the place to eat? Diamond Grove was the famous restaurant. I guess it's still there. Now I think a lot of them go to Ken Stewart's. Still go to the Diamond Grove. They don't ask us much anymore. They all, Paul Casey, go back to him. He says, can you get me in the Diamond Grove? This goes back quite a few years ago. I said, sure, but I forgot to tell him it's cash only. He come in and he took like 7 people there. He said, you didn't tell me they wouldn't take credit card. I said, oh, I forgot. I said, what? He said, they just took my business card, going to bill me. I said, look at you. There's a picture right behind me here, Gary Player being interviewed, 1965. He just won the tournament. You know who's interviewing him? WAKR Radio, Bob Wiley. It's right behind me here. Golf is really king. TV has really brought golf up. And of course, Tiger Woods' name brought golf way up when he came out there. Golf is really, if you go back in the 50s, I think green fees on the South Course was like $6 during the week, $12 on weekends. Now today you can't even play a public course for over $50 or $60.
Right.
Things have changed.
Right.
You say me and my brothers, we'd get here, when we caddy days, get here at 5, 6 in the morning. I told my brother Mike, we sat around and talked. I said, Mike, that's where I learned how to cuss. That's where I learned how to smoke. I mean, that was caddy's days. You always had we were kids smoking. Everybody smoked back then.
Right.
Even players did. Palmer, they all did.
Right.
But now people are smart enough now to realize that it's
Yeah.
not good for you.
Yeah.
But we had great caddy days here. We'd have like 75, 80 kids here. And but today, to this day, I still see kids out the caddy here.
Right.
I run into.
Right. Is there a concerted effort to continue including kids in those activities?
Well, in caddies, we have a caddy program here, the professional caddies now. They caddy all winter long down Florida, and they come up here during the summer. They use kids around town here. No, they don't do that. They don't anymore because carts is a big revenue for clubs today.
Okay.
So most of them have carts.
Carts.
There's still some courses that have great caddy programs
Mhm.
for younger kids.
Mhm.
But around here when we were kids, all of our caddies came from like Firestone Park, right around the area here.
Okay.
But as I was running the locker room, we'd always hire high school kids. And now these high school kids have moved on. Now some are attorneys. Some of these kids are growing up with families now. And I see them out.
Right. And I would think that they still have an affinity to, not unlike you, just the fond memories of
gosh.
being here.
I'm very close with a lot of them yet. Yeah. There's a lot of memories here, and some of them we can't tell.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me a little bit more about the Caddy program.
Well, back then, like I say, we had 75 to 100 caddies. We'd grade them. Caddy, like I say, if a caddy carried 2 bags, if he made 10 bucks, that was a big day, a huge day. And usually they come back in and they sit down there and play poker. But the caddy, it was fun.
Mhm.
It was a great time to get to know people. That's how I learned the game out there caddying.
Right. And now, present day, you said there's a Caddy program that still exists here, or
They use professional caddies,
Professional
yes.
Caddies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now what these guys make, these guys do pretty well. I mean, they travel, they'll come up here all summer and then they go down to Florida all winter. Not a bad deal if they don't have to worry about a family, I guess. But,
And so you said cart versus caddies, so there are still players that prefer to walk the course?
correct. And they can take one, but it's not cheap.
Mhm.
I don't know what the price is offhand, but, oh yeah, a lot of people prefer walking. At my age, I'll be 76 next June, I'd rather ride.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Think how lucky I was growing up on a golf course. I'm very lucky. I mean, that's how I say a caddy here is how I bought my first home. I've raised my family here. I've raised my kids. Now I'm taking care of grandkids, so it's been a very good life for me. I've been very lucky. And be around golf when we were kids. We used to play, if they give us the golf course for a day, like Monday, we played from morning till dark. It was just a thrill.
And so do your children and grandchildren also have an affinity for golf?
I have a grandson who works for the sheriff's department here. He's in the 911 operator. He loves golf. He hits it very well, but he doesn't have the short game, but it'll come to him someday. He loves it. My other grandson going to Akron right now, he's 19. He's just starting to like it. And my granddaughter, now she's in the cross country at Coventry High School. She goes to Coventry.
Okay.
She's into all that, but she's not a big golfer. And my son, I have a son that lives, he still plays. In fact, he played here about a month ago. He plays about twice a year. He shot like 86 for playing twice a year. It's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Exciting place to visit. It really is, and they're treated pretty well here. Great golf courses. All 3 of them are in great condition. The south course is a little bit too hard for most people, but they still want to play it.
Mm-hmm.
And you take people, they want to play where the pros play.
Yeah.
Me, I'd rather play the short courses.
Yeah, yeah. Anything else about the 9-hole course that we should know about? Or?
All I know is I haven't played it that often. It's a great 9 holes. There's a lot of guys that play over there that love it. Mostly in the mornings, retirees and women, they love it. It's a great little golf course, and great driving range over there.
And it's certainly a place where visitors are welcome if they bring their clubs along with them.
Oh, sure.
To
Sure. And they serve food over there at Hackers. I don't know if you've ever been over there for lunch, but they have lunch over there and dinner. So they stay pretty busy. It's a nice place. I retired in 2010 with 59 years service here. So I'm still working part-time, like 15, 20 hours a week as the ambassador of Firestone. When I retired, I got a lifetime membership given to me, which is the retirement party they threw for me was unbelievable. I got letters from Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, Gary Player, it's all hanging in a room over there. So that's the biggest thrill of my life to think that they gave me a lifetime membership. I come out here, I can play anytime I want. It's nice that I can come out here and still spend time with a lot of my friends, because being retired, you get very bored real easy. I don't get bored. I come out here. I'm out here some mornings at 5 o'clock having coffee, because I've got up my whole life at 4:35 in the morning. So I wake up automatically. So I'm very lucky to have that given to me. And that was Club Corp did that for me. Through my boss at that time, who was Mark Gore.
Yes.
So I don't know if you know Mark.
Yeah, I
or
know
not.
Mark.
Okay. So, and they had a tape here, surprise at my party, that Gary Player sent. I caddied for Gary Player in '64, and then I also caddied for him in the Big Three golf they used to play out here. And it starts out, they had it on film down there. I had no idea they had it. It's Folly. Something I've always wanted to tell you, you were a terrible caddy. If you told me it went left, it went right. And it went on and on for about, it was really unbelievable.
Yeah.
So that was neat. And I still lucky to have all that.